What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber. We are here at Week 9 of the NFL season. Mixed results so far for me. Doing well in the showdowns, not doing so well in a lot of the big slates. Sheets, what are your sort of overall thoughts on this slate? Anything to share or anything you want to drop before we get into the game by game?
No, just do an early look. I have like 4 or 5, actually 6 teams that I want to highlight as far as teams to attack. I do think that the running back position is particularly spread out this week among different plays, which you could say that is a good slate or a bad slate. And we just got news that Aaron Rodgers is going to be out. So whoever's going to be filling in there is going to be a cheapo quarterback.
Oh, I would never. I don't. Yeah.
And also you have somebody who originally projected to be, a smash play, but you have Devontae Adams is going to return to practice Thursday, probably going to make COVID. But what kind of efficiency is he's going to have with the backup quarterback is certainly something that's kind of difficult to project. So who's this? Jordan Love, I suppose. He's going to make his first NFL start Sunday. Best of luck to you. Now they did pick the right team to have him go up against as his first start against Kansas City. But I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll go game by game because I it's very hard for me to play, in DFS these days. Other than, look, it would have worked with Mike White last week, so I guess that maybe we should consider that kind of stuff. But it's so hard for me to.
No thanks.
It's not my first thing, especially for a guy like Rodgers. It's not like you're talking about filling in for, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's a tough one. So, all right, let's pull up your screen.
Oh, right. Okay.
And we will get into it.
So New England and Carolina, neither of them rate to be one of the teams that I want to target. And honestly, I'm not getting to too much as far as running backs or one-offs or much of anything. I will say that I just picked up Hunter Henry in my season-long league because Noah Fant I had and he's out, so I had to pick up somebody off of waivers. So I did get Hunter Henry, but aside from that, I don't have a lot of interest in this game. If you want to play Darnold in the seeing ghost game, trying to take another shot against Belichick, I don't know if anybody's going to do that, but maybe you could try that with the DJ Moore in them. But seems like a rough spot. Seems like it's kind of a rough game for both squads.
I think DJ Moore is too cheap. It's not like Stephon Gilmore's back there anymore for New England. I think that Jacoby Myers is mildly interesting, but mostly I'm going to be off this game, and I may torture myself one more time and throw a Robbie Anderson lineup in just because I can't live with what's happened this year with Robbie Anderson. I cannot get anything out of this guy, but finally, at least last week he was only targeted one time, so I don't have to feel like, oh, he could have had such a big game or anything like that. But yeah, not a very interesting game for me to start off with. All right, Buffalo, Jacksonville. This game is you are going to have the usual suspects owned, and I think that it's completely reasonable. It's Josh Allen to Diggs. Probably you could consider him with the other guys, but I like the Diggs angle the best. And I don't know what's going to happen with James Robinson, and I can't find anybody that I'm anxious to play on Jacksonville, with the exception of maybe Chenault. I could probably talk myself into it at 4,400. Weirdly only had 4 targets last week. Maybe you could talk me into more. I don't know. I like the Buffalo side, but I often run Buffalo without a bring back because I think they have the best defense. Maybe the bring back is their defense. I don't even know what they're costing this week. I'm going to guess it's a lot. 4K. But I am going to definitely have some of the Josh Allen to Diggs or Sanders probably, but I actually think I prefer just going with Diggs. Gabriel, it's a little more nerve-wracking because Gabriel Davis, there's a lot of good buzz about him in Buffalo, and it's sort of, I think it's going to cut into Sanders especially, not so much Beasley, who's more of the possession receiver anyway. But I really like the Diggs and Allen combo.
If Robinson is in fact ruled out, you're probably going to see somebody from Jacksonville.
Nope. Well, they won't project well. I can tell you that.
Oh, you don't think so? Okay, that's what
Because Buffalo doesn't give up any points.
right.
Should they, you know?
But I'll bet you anything that somebody shows up with a projection and people play.
Maybe.
I think I don't know which one it would be, but
It would
depends
be
on the coach speak. If coach speak says I'm playing Carlos Hyde 100% of the snaps, you know what I mean? Like,
well, Carlos Hyde would be the natural guy you would go for. I mean, he did just have 8. He's not considered a receiving back. He had 8 targets, 6 receptions the other day. But yeah, I can't picture a much worse matchup for a running back. But
so I have Buffalo as my third highest team to attack, and you know you're gonna have to pay for it with Josh Allen specifically. But Allen, Diggs, I liked Beasley, but I'll certainly consider Davis and or Sanders. But it's Allen and Diggs, and run backs are tough to come by. But I like you. Who do you like? Do you like Chenault? You were saying?
not
like
really.
that.
I just
you didn't. Okay.
I just said if I had to run somebody back, that's
right. That's what I was saying. Sharks still on the injured reserve. I mean, yeah, it's a tough game to stack just because, again, for the lack of run backs. But you know, Allen probably have a good game. Diggs might get a touchdown. Beasley might get a touchdown. So they're projecting as a good team to kind of go after. But I feel the game environment is particularly terrific.
Yeah. All right, sorry guys, I had to pause for a minute, but we were talking about finishing talking about Buffalo and Jacksonville, and I agree with what Sheets was saying that it's a little bit hard to stack because the run backs are a little thin. Is there anything I'm looking for? Anything? I mean, I guess Dan Arnold is still cheap, and he's going to get work because of who's throwing the ball to him. He had 10 targets, so I guess Dan Arnold actually probably my favorite run back.
Want to move ahead?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No thoughts on Dan Arnold?
No.
He was your number 1 tight end last week, and he got 10 targets and 8 receptions, and now he's going to have to get the ball thrown to him a bunch of times, and you didn't even consider him. Okay.
All right, not yet. I mean,
okay.
I'm got to get talked off of all this Miami stuff first.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this is for me where the action is. Miami rates my fourth best stack on the board. You know, they've been a struggler this whole season, but they've had some tough matchups. And this is a spot where you'd like to think that they could finally get it going. And these guys are still too cheap, and I like all of it. I like Tua. I like Gaskin out of the backfield. I like Parker. I like Waddle, and pretty natural run back with Cooks. And at least at first glance, this to me looks like the easiest game. So that's what I like.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't have a strong desire to overload on these guys. Waddle,
Gesicki Pop also, by the way. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I think it's just Gesicki and Gaskin would be my favorite with Tua. Not with Tua. I don't know if I want to play Tua. But I'm open to this game, especially if Tyrod Taylor plays. That'll probably be the deciding factor for me because I have a lot more interest in the Houston pass. And look, they can get the BS touchdowns late. People were talking about, oh my God, I made such a mistake. I took out Brandon Cooks. I was afraid of blowout. Like Brandon Cooks had 2 fantasy points until like the last 4 minutes of a game. They were down by 38 points. And it's going to happen where occasionally the guy's going to catch a touchdown pass at that point. But there's no reason to feel like, oh, we should have been playing Brandon Cooks last week. Yeah, I personally think that the best play in this game is probably the Miami defense. They're good.
I like that too.
They're good, and especially if Taylor's out again, I would think that they might show up as the number 1 defense for me this week. But I'm definitely lower on this game than you are, and I am okay with it, but I'm not certainly not desperately trying to get it in. And even I don't know what's happening. Devontae Parker talks about him not playing, and then he had 11 targets. So maybe Devontae Parker and Waddle are close. I guess you could do it easily with both of them and Tua if you wanted to, or Gesicki. I guess it has a lot of the fringe pieces that you kind of like. So I can get behind a little bit of this Miami and Houston. It just wasn't my favorite thing in the world to do. I think Gaskin is probably my favorite play in the game.
Okay.
All right, do you want to start us off with Atlanta and New Orleans?
Yeah. So Winston is out. It looks as though it's going to be Trevor Siemian, I suppose, at quarterback for New Orleans. I have
Well,
literally no interest in that.
or Taysom Hill.
What?
It could be Taysom Hill still, possibly.
Could be. Kamara is going to still rate to be a good play. Obviously, if Taysom Hill starts, it might be a little less of a good play. And if he plays, you know what I mean? That's a little less of a good play. So I like Kamara a little. I think Kamara is one of the running backs. On the Atlanta side, I'm not getting to too much. New Orleans is tough, man. Even though Tampa put up points against them, whatever. But New Orleans is tough. I don't think I'm going to get too much of Atlanta. I don't think I'm going to get much of anything over here.
Yeah, I don't mind Kyle Pitts, but that's the only one I would probably go to for Atlanta in this type of a game. And it's not even that I love that. I just think that there's so much upside with this guy every time he's on the field. So I'm going to take shots on him, sporadically. But I do really like Alvin Kamara. I don't know who's playing in the passing game for New Orleans yet, but I would just say that I definitely like Kamara quite a bit. And at some point, Callaway is going to break a slate. I don't think this is the week for it, but I guess he kind of already did one. But he can. I think he's got bigger things coming to him, and the way they're playing conservatively on offense, all it takes is them being down a little bit for him to get going. But yeah, I think it's just Kamara and Pitts for me this week.
So Denver, Dallas, for me, I already talked about Buffalo. I talked about Miami and Dallas. We got to pause this for a second. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Paused. You were talking about Dallas and
yeah. So Dallas is one of the other teams that I want to target this week. Now I know Denver is, their defense is not bad, but I still think that Dallas is a good play. Obviously, presuming that Prescott plays. So I like some Zeke this week. I like CeeDee Lamb. Obviously Cooper if he plays. And what's his name? Wilson got some run in the last game. Now again, it's a weird game because Cooper Rush was quarterback, right? So you're not going to have the same progressions. It's not going to be the same. So I don't know if I would go, make too much of that. But hell, at 3,600, I'll make an excuse. So for me, I like the Dallas side. I like Lamb. I like Cooper. I like Wilson. Even I'll throw in the little bit of tight end there a little bit. I think Zeke's a good play. I think Fant being out is kind of tough for Denver's prospects. If you want to run back with somebody like a Jerry Jeudy or something like that, maybe that's worth doing. But I think Dallas is going to. I know Denver's been kind of stout, but I think Dallas is going to have a good game this week. So I do like the Dallas offensive side.
Yeah, I like this game actually a little bit. I think that the one thing that the Fant stuff does is it makes Jerry Jeudy an even better play, who I liked already. Okay. I also think that it's not against the rule to play a 2,600 tight end against a team that likes to throw to the tight end in Akubnum. Can I pronounce this guy's name? And I think Cortland Sutton's in play as well, which makes it nice because I do like especially CeeDee Lamb play. But Cooper at 5,700 is kind of crazy.
That's egregious.
Like, why is he that? I don't even understand it. It is a good defense that you're talking about, but I don't care. Against an offense this potent, I think you want to get exposure to all these guys. So this was the game I initially started liking the stack. I was actually doing it on the Denver side initially until they announced that Fant was out. I also think that Zeke and Pollard, I would rather play Pollard at 4,700 than I probably would whoever is the running back for Jacksonville. But I realistically on this slate, I would just stick it to Zeke, although it's not like an ideal matchup for him. Consistent production, he'll get work in all different facets of the game. And then, that's pretty much it for the game. But I do really think that this game has merit in stacking, and I do like Jeudy quite a bit against everybody, and much less this Dallas defense that's been burned through the air a few times. So Cooper, Lamb, and Jeudy are my favorites, and I like the game quite a bit.
All right, this next game. I mean, this is one of the things about projections. I actually have Baltimore as a team that rates high for me. And that's just going to be because Lamar is in the game, I guess. And maybe that's a good reason. um, I don't know what to make about Minnesota sometimes. I mean, sometimes I think Minnesota's got a good defense and you know, whatever. Sometimes I think they stink, you know what I mean? But I do like Baltimore. I like Lamar and Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown. And the fortunate thing is you do have some run backs you could play, you know, between either Thielen or Jefferson or even oh, you know what I don't want to play? Oh, I'll tell you what I don't want to play. This is like the roadie guy. I don't want to play KJ Osborne. Let me tell you, I played KJ Osborne, I think in the showdown slate or something. And Jefferson was like ruled out of the game, and yet they still couldn't get Osborne going. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't like him. But I do like the Baltimore side. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll get off of this, but like for now, I do like Lamar, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and then, you know, either Thielen or presumably he's playing, right? And Jefferson is kind of a run back from Minnesota. But I do see variations where this game becomes kind of slow. But that's where I am right now.
Yeah, I like this game. I totally
Okay.
disagree about KJ Osborne. I think you have to know
Okay.
what you're getting. You shouldn't expect, like, he's not a possession receiver. Like, he's a home run hitter, and that's what you're playing him for. You're playing him for the big plays. So I would never write him off because he didn't have a good game against Dallas without what's his name. Also, his quarterback often leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, just the week before, he put up 20 fantasy points against Carolina. And actually, you could argue in some ways that maybe Jefferson could even help him in some ways because attention all being on those guys does give him some openings. So I like that. But my favorite thing, I think I want to play Dalvin Cook everywhere. I think I might even prefer get Dalvin Cook this week. They had their bye, right? Didn't they just come off their bye? They had their they're 1 week removed from their bye. But after their bye and the week before it, Dalvin Cook ran 29 times the week before it and 18 times coming back against Dallas. Now he didn't have a big game, but not worried about it at all. Baltimore has given up the biggest games of rushing on the season, even though they're overall considered a pretty stout defense. They got lit up by a bunch of teams. They were the worst in football, and then they had one good game against the Chargers, and then got lit up by Cincinnati.
Yep.
So I want to target this game, and I would probably, with the pricing being where it is, give Jefferson the edge over Thielen if I was going to play one of them. But and then I like the Andrews price. Andrews and Brown is close for me. I'd give the slight edge to Andrews, but I do like this game.
Cleveland, Cincinnati. The only thing I really have from this now, again, I'm curious to hear your take on this because you play some of the Cleveland stuff more than most people. So I'm curious of what you think could happen in this game because the Bengals do have some skill guys, and if this game does become kind of faster, I think this game could deliver. I'm not seeing it right now, but the only thing I have from this game is I have Mixon right now. What do you like here?
So just interesting to note that this game last year won everybody all the millions everywhere, and
really
44-42 game where you needed to have Burrow or Baker. You actually sent me a screenshot of being up $1 million at one point.
That was this game?
Yeah,
okay.
I was at the World Series in Dallas. So other than that, though, just on its face, I'm having a hard time knowing what to do with it at the moment, to be honest with you. So I have it as a potentially stackable game. I can't figure. I mean, Baker honestly just looks so bad. And I think Cincinnati's defense is much improved, in spite of the fact that Mike White just threw for 400 yards against them last week, which was the leader of all quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah, I'm open to this game stack. I'm open to playing a cheap Landry or Beckham, even though it just feels like throwing money away at this point. Although Landry is getting, he had 10 targets last week. Landry definitely seems like the better play. But I don't mind if you want to take a long shot in this game and then run it back with any of the receivers and or Joe Mixon. So I like the game a little bit, but I also could see it completely dudding the other way. So I'll probably go with a stack or fade type of approach, with the exception of a Joe Mixon or Jarvis Landry.
Okay. What was this thing with Henry Ruggs?
Well, I didn't actually read what ended up happening. What was
Yeah, I don't, he was waived. He was waived because he had a DUI resulting in death.
Oh, that's right, the DUI. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. He never ended up quite amounting to what people thought he could be. That's sad. All right. So, I mean, Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfroe are going to be opened up. What do you think about these guys now?
Yeah, I didn't get to them quite yet, but again, this is like early projections. I'm sure somebody's going to pop from this. Probably Darren Waller is
Yeah.
probably the best play.
Yeah.
And that he is already popping. I'm not getting, no, that's not true. I'm getting some Renfroe. So Renfroe, Darren Waller. But you know what? It's the types of routes that he was running are not really Waller Renfroe routes, right? I mean, do they have a deep?
Zay Jones would be the guy.
Ooh, that would be interesting. But Josh Jacobs I have as kind of an okay play. And the Giants again, this is really how terrible that performance was on KC. I mean, the Giants lost like all of their receivers and all of their players, and they still basically should have won the game. So for the Giants side, I have to wait to see who's playing, obviously. And Vegas, maybe Darren Waller race to be a good tight end, and maybe Jacobs is a fringe running back.
Yeah, I'm interested possibly in the passing game. I want to see what happens with the receivers for the Giants. I don't think I really want to play it as a full game stack, but I'm sort of open to it. It's interesting, by the way. People probably don't realize the Raiders are the second team in the AFC, the number 2 seed in the AFC right now, and they're going to do whatever they can to go and grind out wins. I was considering Jacobs for a minute, and I don't know, I need to know how healthy he is, and I need to know about the Giants receivers. But I do think Hunter Renfroe and Brian Edwards will stand out a little bit. For some reason, I feel more tempted to go to Brian Edwards, but this is a place you can definitely get some value. And I'm not saying it's the most exciting value. I'm not saying that Hunter Renfroe is the most exciting guy to play as the number 1 wide receiver on a team. And maybe you could argue for a Zay Jones long shot, large field play at 3K, but I personally will probably stick to Edwards and Renfroe and Waller. I think Waller is probably the best idea that we had, so stick with that. Well, here's an interesting one. Sheets, do you want to start off with the Chargers and Philly?
Yep, I like both sides of this, but more so on FanDuel, I think. Yeah, I didn't quite get to. I was so excited to talk about this, but not that much. Right, so I have the both sides as kind of fringe plays, but considering they're in the same game, I think I kind of want to look into it. So Goddard remains a great play, I think, at 4,500 for Philly, and then Hurts is always a good play. And from the Chargers side, I like Eckler. I like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I like him, and Herbert. I mean, I think this game could probably deliver, and it's one of the games I want to think about playing.
Yeah, boy, the rushing stuff with Philly is really irritating, especially for a team that gives up a lot of rushing stuff. But you have, Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, your second and third running backs, each ran for 2 touchdowns last week, which made it really tough because I played a ton of Gainwell and I played a ton of Hurts. So it was going to leave me a loser of the week no matter what. Chargers with pretty good corners maybe makes me a little bit less on the receivers and more on Goddard. I do think Goddard is the best receiver, the best tight end in play this week, price and everything considered. And on the Chargers side, it's the same thing for me. It's Keenan Allen and it is Austin Eckler. I like both of them very much, and I like this game a lot. So, and I don't mind if you want to go Mike Williams either instead. I really think that they're going to be able to throw the ball on Philly, and I think Philadelphia is going to be able to move the ball on them. So I like this game a lot. Maybe my favorite game of the week. Now that we lost the Green Bay situation.
Did we lose the Green Bay situation?
I mean, I'm not going to stack the Green Bay.
What do you think about Kansas City?
Well, okay, go ahead. Start. Go. You start talking about that game. I wasn't ready.
Yeah. So I mean, the one hand you could say, well, now this game rates to be kind of a blowout, so it doesn't seem like a game that you'd want to kind of stack, whatever it is. But boy, oh boy, I mean, Kansas City looked really, really bad. And if I will tell you this, and Green Bay looked pretty freaking good defensively against who were they? They lost somebody.
They beat Arizona.
They played Arizona. They played them really, really well. And if there's a time for Kansas City at low ownership, maybe, where there's literally no reason to play them, maybe just maybe take a shot. But the guy I want to talk about here is, what do you do with Derek Gore? Derek Gore was the great Andy Reid showdown slate troll. He didn't even have a salary on FanDuel. Okay. He was like, and he came out of nowhere to get 11 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown all in the first half. And the second half, it went back to Darrell Williams. But I keep an eye on this at Derek Gore at 4K. Maybe for an afternoon slate play or something like that. Mm-hmm. And especially, you know what, if they're winning this game, and maybe they like this Derek Gore guy, whoever it is, maybe they want to get him some more work and get him another touchdown. I don't know. That's it's so funny, when it was going on last Sunday or Monday, I'm like, oh great, you're gonna have that Derek Gore freaking chalk week. You know what I mean? But turns out, I guess he's not going to be like the lead guy. That Derek Williams is still going to be the guy. But I don't know. I thought about that, but I'm kind of into playing I don't know. I'm not going to just fade Kansas City. I think I'm still going to play them, regardless of game environment and regardless of how they look.
Yeah, I'm open to it for sure. I personally will side. I don't mind if there's a way you can get both Tyreek Hill and Devontae in. I think that I should have thought a little bit more when I said the thing about Jordan Love, because one thing is that he is going to make a lot of sense in some ways. Like, he's been there for long enough now to where that's, annoyed Rodgers, they took him and everything like that. There's some argument for like him actually being competent. And I think against this Chiefs defense, like at 4,400, it's going to be hard to just ignore him. I probably shouldn't have written that off as quickly as I did. I think he to Devontae Adams is fine. I'm not going to play roulette with the tight ends for Green Bay, but I do think Devontae Adams, but I think that Aaron Jones is a terrific play. And I understand that they really like Austin Dillon, and some of the numbers are kind of skewed because they had no receiver. So Aaron Jones was lining up as a wideout, so Dillon was getting the carries. You got a ton of pass work for Aaron Jones in that game because of the lack of wideouts. I don't expect him to have 11 targets again, but I think it's interesting that it's just Dillon got all those carries, but I don't think it's going to continue that way in this game. Kind of an important game, stay on top of the NFC, and then the Chiefs are obviously in like a sort of must-win territory pretty early in the season. What is it now? Mahomes like 65-1 for MVP. I mean, the Chiefs could win out still. I know they've looked bad, but I just think it's kind of an interesting bet. Aaron Jones and Tyreek Hill on the other side would probably be my favorite ways to play this situation. At some point, I don't know what's going on with Kelsey, to be honest with you. And nope. I know he's had some games even with a lot of targets and some games that we've considered decent games, but something seems different. And I would give Tyreek Hill the edge right here, a little bit ahead of Kelsey, but I like Devontae Adams on that side, and I like Aaron Jones. I just don't know how much I'm gonna be able to get to all those guys because they're not the same value-wise without Rodgers, except for maybe Aaron Jones. If KC really shows they still can't stop running backs, you could see a big game from Aaron Jones in this one.
All right, and finally, Arizona, San Francisco, and the only thing I have from this game is an ultra fringe play I shouldn't say fringe play, in Eli Mitchell from San Francisco. He finishes his runs, he runs hard, mm-hmm. and you can run on in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I like Eli Mitchell as a play here. I presume that we're going to have to play 5% Brandon Ayuk till the day we die. Is that what we're going to do?
I mean, we don't have to, but
I think we have to. I think we have to. So I'm gonna play one just because. And I don't. It's kind of weird that I never play anybody from Arizona. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to when they're against a good defense. I don't know. But so for me, it's just basically Mitchell and not much else.
Tell you what, they tried to get Ayuk involved last week more than I've seen
did.
them do all year long. They gave him 4 rushing attempts and the 7 targets, and it's enough for me to take a shot on Ayuk again. I actually think something feels funny about this game and the line and everything. And I know we have a banged up Kyler Murray and a banged up Hopkins, but my guess is over the they hadn't played since Thursday, a week ago Thursday. I think this is a spot where I could see them being strong here against San Francisco, whose defense I feel like is really overrated. And I sort of like the Eli Mitchell idea on your side, on your end, and Ayuk, and you could run it back with Kyler to Hopkins would probably be my favorite, but it's always hard to find the receiver for them. You could also just decide to play Ertz instead of Goddard, which I don't want to do quite so much. But I like this game. Kittle is a question mark if whether he plays. If Kittle plays, I definitely will have some interest there.
Yeah.
And less on Ayuk probably. But I like this game as sort of it's weird that it's this low total of a projection. It almost made me feel like maybe somebody's going to be out, and Arizona is only a 1-point favorite against a struggling San Francisco team, even though they play each other tough, these teams. So I like that game. It's kind of interesting. I think I've got an idea of what I want to do now that we're done. Do you have anything else you want to add before we?
Yeah. So no, I'm gonna stick to my Miami. I'm gonna also boost that Philly game. So the Philly LAC game, the Miami Houston game, and the Dallas and Dallas would be my top ones. KC and Baltimore rate to be the best ones, but KC obviously has a lot of kind of systematic risk in that game.
Right.
But I'll probably play some of that, and I'll probably play some of the Baltimore. I mean, you talk me, I would say talk me into it, but you assured me that it's probably going to be a pretty good game. So those are the places that I'm targeting. I will say that running backs are just again all over the place. Like Kamara, Eckler, Elliott, Gaskin, what's his name, Mixon, Dalvin Cook, like you mentioned, Jake. There's a lot of guys you could play over there, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go in order of my favorite games would be the Chargers, Philly. Next, I would have it like I think Josh Allen to Diggs just is not my favorite even game stack. Just I think that's my favorite quarterback to receiver combination. Dallas, Denver would be next for me, followed by Baltimore, Minnesota, and then you get the Green Bay, KC, and Arizona, San Fran. But that's how I've got it in order. And I really like Kamara this week, and I really like Dalvin Cook this week. Those are 2 guys I want to be high on, so I'm going to have to try and find some value at receiver. And the good news is we may have some this week. So that's what I've got for this slate.
All right. So again, as far as content goes, I presume that Bobby is going to do something with Rhodey at some point in the next couple of days, a little more of a deeper dive. And then Sunday at 11:30, we'll try to make heads or tails of whatever late news came and, share our builds and just finalize things. There'll be a showdown slate, the incredible game between Indianapolis and Jets tomorrow. We'll put that up there. We'll probably do a video on that, and that's about it.
All right. Well, guys, let's get it this week. It's time for somebody to take down a big one in football. We've been doing really well in the other sports as a whole, but let's take it down a football one. So good luck to everybody out there.
Bobby, hang in there after you start recording.